I thought today I would show you how I process from a color raw file to a black and white finished image. Show you a couple different methods. I'm going to start by opening Bridge where I have a raw file up. First thing we need to do on this case is we're going to open in Adobe Camera Raw. And then I'm going to go in and choose my crop tool. And what I want to do is straighten the image. I'm going to use the chimney for a reference point to get my vertical reasonably straight. I don't see where I've got anything there. Let me try that again. There we go. Double click to save the crop. All right. Now, in this instance, in the first instance, I'm going to just do the conversion in Adobe Camera Raw. I'm going to drop the saturation. Then I'm going to play with contrast. I tend to like kind of contrasty image. I might tone the highlights down a little bit. Play with the shadows a little bit. I could open them up. Or I can shut them down. I'm going to open them up just a little bit. Whites. Want a bright, you're going to go to the right. If you want a little darker presentation, to the left. We're going to stay right in the middle. Play with the blacks a little bit. And then texture. Texture, I usually like to be somewhere around 25 to 30. More than that gets a little bit much, I think. Clarity, I'm usually going to be somewhere around between 15 and 25. We'll use 20 there. Now I have what is probably a pretty decent conversion. Nice and contrasty. I kind of like that. I'm going to open and take this into Photoshop. Wait on the Photoshop to open. I'm going to get it in Photoshop and get this out of the way for a moment. So we have a basic image there. I might want to sharpen. I'm kind of old school. I find I like an unsharp mask better than a smart sharpen normally. Anytime you do anything in Photoshop, scroll in and see what you're doing to the quality image. Go into at least 100%. I'm at 322 there. Everything is pretty decent. Back out there. So next I might choose to add a vignette. We can go into filter, lens correction, skip over to custom, and go down to the vignette and maybe add a little vignette. Don't want to get carried away with it. Get carried away with it, it starts looking kind of fakey in my opinion. Just a touch of vignette to kind of tone you into the middle. We will always check and see how that looks with vignette, without. Just toning it down around the edges a little bit. Alright, I'm going to go with that. Now, a lot of times I will do a curve adjustment. It's not giving me the choice on this because there's no color, so we're going to go with that. That would be a finished black and white print, ready to create a nice printout of or canvas. Now, if I want to go to web, to share on the web, I usually do that in here. I don't use the save as choice for web, so I like to do it myself, preserve a little more detail. So I would go into image size. I would choose resolution of 100. And I do a width of 8 inches for my web saves. Next thing I usually do is I'm going to open a duplicate layer on top of it. So I can add a bit of a frame, a stroke under edit. I have 5 pixels wide, chosen in black, so that puts a little framing around it. And I will typically put some copyright information on it. I'll use text. Doesn't matter where I type it because I can move it around afterwards. I click on. On my PC, it's Alt 0169, gives you copyright sign. Type in your text. And in the sample, that's all I'm going to do. I usually include a couple information to websites. Place that where you want to. You flatten your image, and you have a working black and white print. So that's one method to do it. Let's lose that one. No, I don't want to save it. I'm going to go back into my bridge, and we're going to revert this to camera raw default. Open it on PC, that's Control R, or you can double click on the picture. Again, we're going to straighten our horizon using the chimney as a reference. It's a small straighten, but it's a little bit, it helps. Now I'm going to treat this as if I was going to do a color photograph. Play with contrast a little bit. Highlights. Things are going to change a little bit here. It's a little different approach. Open the shadows up a little bit. Tone down the lights a little bit. Again, texture at about 30 for me. Clarity at around 20 for me. In this case, we will play with the vibrance, which I'll go say at about a 10. And saturation of about a 5. So now I have a color image. Now this wouldn't be a bad place to start if you were doing a color image, but today we're talking about black and white. I'm going to show you how to use the Vignette plugin to create a black and white image. A little different approach. You start with a color image in this case. You bring it in, and in your Vignette plugin tool, I'm going to scroll down here and find the Silver FX Pro 2. I'm going to double click on that, and that's going to open that in a moment. Takes a little bit to get there. Slowly but surely. A lot of RAM on this, a pretty fast processor, but it still takes a little time to open up. But I think this plugin is worth the patience. Gives you a lot of choices on your black and white. So we get to our screen here, and we're going to start seeing that we have some recipes preset over here. So the first one is just a natural setting. You can kind of start looking through those. Underexposed version, overexposed version, high contrast harsh, high contrast smooth, high structure harsh, high structure smooth. The high structure choices are a couple of my favorites for a lot of things. There is a high key, couple high keys, a low key, a push process. It's kind of nice. A couple different push processes. Graduated neutral density filter. And you can play with that a little bit, get how you want it. Full dynamic harsh, full dynamic smooth, another of my favorites. Full spectrum, full spectrum inverse, fine art process. I like that one a lot of times. Fine art high keyframed. If you wanted to add a frame on it, that would be one way to do it. And there are several others: wet rocks, sepias, cool tones. But I think we are going to go back to fine art. I like that. Fine art, pick it, and you simply click on OK. You can play with the brightness, contrast, structure, etc. up here to fit your taste. I kind of like the recipe as it is. You hit OK. It's going to apply a layer. And again, I like to scroll in at least 100%, sometimes more, and see what the image looks like in close. See, it is not quite as fine maybe as it was in the other process, but it's not bad. So then you would simply go into your layers, flatten that. Now you have your black and white image. You want to sharpen, if you want to add a vignette. Add a vignette using Nick. As long as we're playing with the Nick plugin, let's play with that a little bit. The vignette is going to be called under Color Effects Pro 4. I'm going to open that. Set on one of, it's going to open in one of my favorite parts of that plugin, which is a detail extractor, but we're going to skip through the menu and find something else here when it opens. It'll take it a moment. If you're ever taking too long and you're wondering whether it's working or not, just look down and see if it opened a new new layer under Nick Collection. Now it comes. It's going to open in the dynamic range, which I'll let it do its thing. Then I'm going to scroll down to the vignettes, down on the menu, the lens vignette, the vignette filter. Let's play with the vignette filter. That's way too dark. Play with the opacity. Sometimes I'll leave it dark and get my size first. You don't want just a little around the edges. You can change the shape. Depending on what you want to do. Let's play with size some more. Like that. Kind of a traditional vignette. Play with the transition. A little fast transition, slow transition. Play with opacity. Yeah. So forth and so on to get a little vignette. Let's tell it OK. Okay, do a little comparison here by turning on and off the view of the layer. See what you like. I don't think that's too bad. Again, you would go in and flatten your image. You could play with brightness and contrast a little if you wanted. If you wanted a little brighter image, a little darker image. Kind of depends on what you want to present. More contrast, less contrast. It's playing there to what you wanted. I'm happy with that. And that would be a finished image for printing. Can slide in here a little bit. Make sure everything looks reasonably decent. I think that would make a decent print. And there you have it. Two methods of converting a color raw file into a finished black and white image. I'm not going to save that. I have a version of that already published. And that's it for today.